Nearly 2 million engines fail every year from cheap aftermarket parts. Not wear, not neglect. From parts sold as quality that turned out to be junk-destroying engines from the inside out. I've torn down engines for 20 years, and I've seen what cheap parts do to motors that should have lasted another 100,000 miles. The auto parts store you trust, the one with bright lights and friendly service, might be selling you components that are quietly destroying your engine right now. Carbon building up on valves, metal shavings floating through oil passages, brake systems failing when you need them most. Today, I'm exposing 11 stores selling garbage parts that cause catastrophic failures, and 4 stores that won't leave you stranded with $5,000 in repairs. By the end, you'll know exactly which aisles to avoid and where to find parts that actually protect your investment. When you walk into a parts chain, you're not getting consistent quality. You're getting whatever they negotiated the cheapest price on that quarter. Some stores care about quality control and test what they sell. Most just care about profit margins and moving inventory. When a $200 water pump fails at 60,000 miles instead of lasting the factory-rated 200,000, they've already made their money. You're the one stuck on the highway with steam pouring from under your hood and a tow truck on the way. The scary part is how these failures develop. A brake pad that looks identical to the OEM part sitting right next to it on the shelf, but uses friction compound that's 30% softer than spec. It'll stop your car perfectly fine for the first 6 months, maybe even 8. Then one day, you're coming down a steep mountain pass with a trailer behind you and the pedal goes soft halfway to the floor. Or an oil filter with a bypass valve that's calibrated wrong, opening at 15 psi instead of the proper 25. It lets unfiltered oil circulate through your engine, carrying microscopic particles that score cylinder walls and wear out bearings. Runs quiet for 3,000 miles, 5,000, maybe 10. Then suddenly you've got that distinctive bearing knock, and when you drain the oil, it comes out looking like metallic paint, with shavings stuck to the drain plug magnet. I've personally seen this destroy engines with only 60,000 miles that should have had another 150,000 of reliable service left in them. Number 11. Pep Boys. This chain's been around since 1921. Which makes people assume they've got their quality control dialed in after 100 years in business. But here's the harsh reality that most customers never learn until it's too late. Pep Boys switched to a budget-first business model years ago, and their house brand parts are consistently some of the lowest quality components I encounter in my shop. Just last month, had a customer roll in with a 2015 Honda Accord with 82,000 miles showing on the odometer. Clean car, well-maintained, regular oil changes. He'd replaced the alternator at Pep Boys 6 months before I saw him. The bearing in that alternator seized up without warning, which instantly shredded the serpentine belt. With no belt turning the water pump, the engine temperature spiked before he could safely pull over. When we tore the motor apart to assess damage, that alternator had a manufacturing date stamped on it showing it was made just 3 weeks before he bought it. But the bearing assembly looked like something pulled from a junkyard. Cheap Chinese-made components with absolutely zero quality control inspection. The replacement alternator cost him $280. The engine damage from that single overheat event cost him $4,300 in machine work, new head gasket, resurfaced head, and coolant system repairs. Their house brand brake rotors are even more problematic. They use lower grade cast iron that warps under normal heat cycling. I've measured rotors with my micrometer that were already out of manufacturer specification after just 8,000 miles of regular driving. Your car starts shaking every time you touch the brake pedal. You naturally think you need new brake pads, but really, Those rotors are warped beyond the minimum thickness for safe machining. Then there's their ignition system components, which are frankly dangerous. Coil packs that develop internal arcing, spark plugs with electrode material that erodes at twice the rate of quality brands like NGK or Denso. Had a customer with a Chevy Traverse who bought a complete tune-up kit from Pep Boys trying to save a few bucks. 3 months and maybe 4,000 miles later, cylinder number 4 starts misfiring bad enough to trigger the check engine light. We pull that spark plug and the electrode gap has opened up so wide it looks like the plug's been running for 50,000 hard miles. The coil pack for that same cylinder had visible carbon tracking running down the white ceramic insulator boot. Both parts were Pep Boys house branded. Both were absolute garbage that had no business being installed in any vehicle. Number 10. Advance Auto Parts. This one genuinely hurts to call out because 20 years ago, Advance actually cared about the quality of components they were putting on shelves. They had standards, and they stuck to them. Now they're just another faceless corporate chain pushing whatever products give them the best quarterly profit numbers for shareholders. Their CarQuest brand used to mean something real in this industry. Mechanics trusted it. Now it's just a nostalgic label they slap on economy-grade imports manufactured to the absolute minimum acceptable standard. I've personally torn down multiple engines that failed catastrophically because of Advance Auto Parts fuel pumps that couldn't maintain proper pressure. Customer with a 2012 Ford F1, 50, clean truck with 96,000 honest miles. Original Motorcraft fuel pump finally died, which is actually pretty good service life. So he replaced it with a CarQuest branded unit from Advance Auto. Installed it properly. Everything looked good. Worked fine for about 4 months with no issues. Then he started getting intermittent fuel pressure drops that got progressively worse. By the time he finally brought it to my shop for diagnosis, that pump was barely delivering 40 psi when Ford engineering specs call for a steady 58 psi under load. The engine computer was trying to compensate, running lean, misfiring under any kind of load, and the catalytic converters were already starting to break down internally from all the unburned fuel passing through. Total repair cost to fix what that one failed pump caused? $3,800, including new catalytic converters, oxygen sensors, and of course another fuel pump from a quality manufacturer. All because he tried saving $40 on a $90 fuel pump. Their oil filters are another legitimate nightmare waiting to happen. I cut open an Advance branded oil filter last week that came off a Toyota Camry during a routine service. The filter media inside looked like the paper towels you buy at the dollar store. No structural ribbing for support, already starting to collapse and fold over on itself after only 3,000 miles of use. The anti-drainback valve that's supposed to keep oil in the filter when the engine shuts off was made from such cheap rubber compound it wasn't sealing properly anymore. That means every single cold start, this engine was running completely dry of oil pressure for the first 2 or 3 critical seconds. Do that enough times, and it wears the cam lobes down, destroys the timing chain tensioner, scores the cylinder walls. The absolute worst part about dealing with Advance Auto Parts is their warranty claims process. Sure, they'll replace any failed part without much argument. But getting them to cover the consequential damage that failed part caused to your engine? They'll literally laugh in your face. So when their $35 water pump fails and the resulting overheat cooks your head gasket, they'll happily hand you a new $35 pump, but tell you good luck with that $1,800 head gasket replacement bill. Number 9 brings us to O'Reilly Auto Parts. They've got stores absolutely everywhere across the country, which makes them incredibly convenient when you need a part right now. Convenient for them to move absolutely massive volumes of bottom-tier components to unsuspecting customers. O'Reilly plays a really dangerous game with their tiered house brands. They'll stock 3 different quality levels for the exact same part application. But here's the catch: they specifically train their counter staff to push whatever product has the highest profit margin that particular day, regardless of whether it's appropriate for the customer's vehicle or usage. Customer comes in asking for brake pads for their daily driver, and the clerk immediately steers them toward the cheapest economy option available, without bothering to explain that those pads will be completely worn down to nothing in 15,000 miles of normal city driving. Just had a guy bring his 2018 Silverado into my bay with only 31,000 miles showing. He'd replaced the front brake pads at O'Reilly just 8 months earlier, trying to save money doing the work himself. When I pulled those front wheels off, the brake pads were ground down completely to the metal backing plates on the driver's side, but still had some friction material remaining on the passenger side. Completely uneven wear pattern, because the friction compound was so inconsistent and soft, it couldn't handle even normal braking forces evenly. O'Reilly's house brand shock absorbers and struts are equally terrible in terms of longevity and performance. Customer with a Honda CR-V replaced all 4 struts with O'Reilly branded units to save money compared to OEM. Within 20,000 miles of regular driving, 2 of the 4 struts were visibly leaking hydraulic fluid, and 1 had completely blown its internal seal. The vehicle handled like an unstable boat in any kind of turn, and the tire wear pattern was already clearly showing the suspension damage. She paid $600 for parts that lasted a tiny fraction of what quality Monroe or KYB units would have provided. Then you get into their electrical components, which are a complete horror show of failures. Starters that use undersized brush assemblies that wear out prematurely. Voltage regulators that can't handle normal electrical load spikes from accessories. 2016 Dodge Durango came into my shop right after the owner installed an O'Reilly remanufactured starter. The starter worked and cranked the engine fine, but it was drawing such excessive electrical current that it actually melted the positive battery cable connector terminal. That excessive amperage draw also completely fried the computer's charging system monitoring circuit. We traced the fault back to a starter motor that was pulling nearly 200 amps during cranking, when Dodge engineering specifications call for under 120 amps maximum. O'Reilly did replace that defective starter under their warranty program, but they absolutely refused to cover the $1,200 in wiring harness repairs and computer replacement that their junk part directly caused. Number 8. Napa Auto Parts. People hear Napa and think quality due to premium prices and gold box branding. But Napa sources from overseas suppliers now. They just charge 30% more banking on old reputation. Customer with a 2017 Subaru Outback bought their premium timing kit, $750 in parts. I installed everything to exact specifications, triple-checked timing marks. 32,000 miles later, tensioner bearing fails. Belt jumps timing and 16 valves meet 16 pistons. Engine destroyed. Subaru quotes $14,000 for replacement motor. All because tensioner rated for 100,000 miles failed at 32. When we tore it apart, bearing race had stress cracks like cheap pot metal. Cut open Napa Gold diesel filter. Media loose inside canister. If that let go while running, metal particles would destroy $15,000 engine. Number 7. AutoZone. Perfected selling junk to uninformed customers. Business model built on high volume, low quality, core charges, and warranty programs. Customer with 2014 Altima needed power steering pump. Bought remanufactured AutoZone unit for $99. Worked 2 weeks, then started whining. Week later seized, snapped serpentine belt. Harmonic balancer shifted, crank pulley wobbled, damaged front seal. Coolant leaked, engine overheated. Warped head, blown gasket, scored walls. 7,800 in damage from $99 pump. 13 Wrangler dead, 3 days after AutoZone ignition coil install. Primary winding resistance out of range, intermittent firing, flooded cylinder with raw fuel. Cat starting to melt from unburned fuel. Number 6. Family Dollar and Dollar General. Rock bottom quality. Oil from Family Dollar in 19. Kia Soul was thin as kerosene. Lab test showed 0 additive package. 3,000 miles would have destroyed the motor. Oil filter came apart internally first change. Pieces floating in pan. Brake fluid boiled at 200 instead of 400. Complete brake failure waiting to happen. Number 5. Walmart. SuperTech oil isn't terrible. Everything else is. Explorer struts failed 11,000 miles. Gas charge gone. Plastic valving cracked. Civic alternator worked 5 months, then overcharged at 18 volts. Fried radio, cluster, PCM. 3,000 in damage from $89 part. Tacoma brake pads separating from backing plates at 7,000 miles. Number 4. Online retailers. GTI timing kit from Amazon. $89 for $400 parts. Belt snapped at 41,000. Valves met pistons, 16,000 for motor. Rock Auto Mustang rotors arrived with casting flaws, 2 mm under spec. eBay sensors filled with silicone hiding failures. Number 3. Summit and Jegs. Camaro timing chain had 1/4 inch slack when quality sets have near 0. Replacement just as bad. Selling defective batch. Jegs oil pump clearances way out of spec. Visible tool marks. They'll sell race parts not street legal, used as new. Number 2. Dealership parts. 20 Pilot at Honda dealer, 800 brake job. 6 months later warped. Clearly cheap imports. Not genuine Honda. Sold aftermarket at OEM prices. 17 Lexus sold unnecessary filters for $240. Fuel filter is lifetime on that model. Number 1. Liquidation stores. Engine rebuild kit, $300 for $1,200 kit. Pistons wrong displacement, bearings wrong size, gasket dissolved in coolant. Plug wires so old insulation cracked, conductors green with corrosion. Cash only, no warranty, 0 accountability. 4 quality retailers that won't destroy your engine. Number 4. CarQuest independent dealers. Not the brand at Advance, but true independent stores owned by local mechanics who stake their reputation on what they sell. They source quality parts, stand behind warranties, and actually know their products. Thousands of parts purchased over years, failures counted on one hand. Number 3. Napa independent stores maintaining old standards. Some independent dealers refuse to lower standards when corporate pushed cheaper alternatives. They stock genuine parts, verify quality, won't sell junk for a sale. Find one and you found treasure. Number 2. Local import specialists. If you drive Honda, Toyota, or Nissan, find a specialist store. They stock OEM or quality equivalents, no common failures. Warn about problematic brands. Understand your vehicle's specific needs. Number 1. Costco. Limited automotive selection, but everything exceeds OEM specifications. Top-tier batteries, quality oils, major brand tires with full warranties. Business model built on member satisfaction. Selling junk means canceled memberships. Best part is their return policy, replacing anything that fails without hassle. Cheap parts aren't savings, they're future repairs. Choose $30 over $90 quality component, you're gambling with your engine's life. That gamble fails, you're looking at $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 in damage. Seen it hundreds of times. Save $200 on bargain parts. Spend $5,000 fixing consequential damage. Buy quality from reputable sources. Install correctly. Your engine rewards you with hundreds of thousands of reliable miles. cut corners with junk, you'll shop for replacement engines before loans are paid.